Putting some feel in music again. Next on Music Surgery with me, Dr. Bob.
I want to, you know what to do.
With most popular music in every genre being locked to the grid and quantized, most of the human feel in music is gone. Whether you like this or not, it's the chapter we're in modern music. But maybe there's still a way to sound modern but bring some feel back into music that isn't totally locked to the grid. Check this out. All right, you guys, let me show you what I have on the screen here. I have some kick drum samples, some snare drum samples, a hi-hat sample, a MIDI bass, and kind of a fake chunky keyboard kind of guitar muted type sound. So let me play you this first part. This is everything locked to the grid. The drums, the bass, and the chunky part. Here we go. Okay. Cool feel, but very quantized. So let's go over here. This is the same thing. I'm just going to mess this one up feel-wise, and then we can go back and forth and look. Now, the first thing I've done here is I've cut each hi-hat part out. Every eighth note of the hi-hat. And every and, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, I've turned down in volume, as you can see, and I've also lowered it a half step in pitch. So I've probably turned each one down 6 dB and lowered it a half step in pitch. So here is the hi-hat before, and here it is after. So as you can hear, the ands are at a lower volume, and they're a half step pitch lower to just differentiate the way that a drummer would really play a hi-hat. You wouldn't really play dot 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 dot. You would what they call like feather it more. Dot 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 dot. In programming, I like to bring down the and beats a half step in pitch because it tricks the ear even more that the velocity is different between the first hit and the second, the beat and the and. Even though this one is obviously lower in pitch, it's also lower in velocity. Well, it's probably the same velocity, when I recorded it, it's lower in volume. So, as you can tell, you get more of a feel than this. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want to take my snare drums. These are my snare drums. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 snare drum samples. I could have bounced this all down to 1, but there's 6, so it makes me feel important. I'm going to set my grid up here to seconds and 10 millisecond increments. So obviously this is not reading beats on my grid anymore. It's reading in milliseconds. So I'm going to grab all my snares, and in grabbing my snares, I'm also going to grab the hi-hat that corresponds with the snare. So here's my snare hits, and here's the hi-hat that corresponds with that. And I'm going to bump my snares back 10 milliseconds. Now, the reason I grab the hi-hat corresponding with the snare as well is because if I didn't, there would be a flam, a flam between the hi-hat and the snare. And normally a drummer wouldn't do that. They would play the snare and the hi-hat at the same time. So here is our old hi-hat and snare drums. And here's one with more feel. You can hear how the snare is just on the backside, like a pocket player would play, like Bernard Purdie or Jeff Porcaro. Now, what I would normally do in a situation with kick drum is I would leave it where it is on the grid. I like to have something that anchors the beat down, that demands where 1 or 3 is, beat 1 or beat 3. Something that's anchoring it all, so some of this other stuff can move around. But this, I keep my kick drums where they are to be the anchor. Now, let's play this with the bass on the quantized version. Same thing. Let's go over here and let's move the bass back 10 milliseconds. Now, some of you are saying 10 milliseconds. How long is 10 milliseconds? So here is the difference between 10 milliseconds. This one's on the left-hand side, this snare, and this one's on the right-hand side, and they're 10 milliseconds apart. This is 10 milliseconds. You can't really tell. It's more of a feel thing. Let me bounce it back 20 milliseconds. Started to hear it a little bit. 30 milliseconds. A little more. 40 milliseconds, I can really pick that up. But 10 milliseconds is really a feel thing. So when I'm pulling these snares back and hi-hats back and bass back, it's more of a feel thing. So let me go back to here. This is our quantized drums and bass. Now, here's our new version with snare drum back 10 milliseconds, our hi-hat trick, and the bass back 10 milliseconds. The difference between beat 1 and beat 2, there's a chasm now, a nice flow, a groove. The snare's on the backside, the bass is just behind the kick, but the kick is the anchor. Let me do the same thing with these chunky guitars. Here is the quantized version. And now let me push these. I mean, no, they're not really chunky guitars. It's just a sound for the demonstration of this. Let me put those back 10 milliseconds, and let's listen to this. Super groovy, but still very manicured and some quantization in it. Now, for fun, let me go to every other snare bump this to 1 millisecond, and bump it back another 2. Now, actually, so I've also grabbed the hi-hat. Now we're getting into this hi-hat here, so I need to crossfade that because we bumped it so far back, it's starting to get in the way of that beat. Okay, now, so we have 10 millisecond back snares plus extra milliseconds back on every other snare. Everything else 10 milliseconds back, and the kicks are stable and holding down the fort on the grid. So our quantized version. And our un-quantized version. It just feels so much better. It feels on the backside. There's more, instead of this, dot, 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 there's more dot, 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 dot. So play with time. Play with time between things. I mean, I could bump this back another to 20 milliseconds on the fake guitar thing. Or let me bump all the snares and the corresponding hi-hat. Let me bump those back another 3. There's no set rule here. It's how it feels good to you. But try it in 10 millisecond increments. This is a great place to start. Find something that feels good, and then go to 1 millisecond and bump those around until you find something that you go, oh man, it still feels modern, it still feels manicured, but man, it feels so much better than just gridlock. Now, I'm not knocking music that's locked to the grid at all, and I make that kind of music all the time. But these are a few suggestions that make things feel differently, but still manicured in a way that sounds modern. Try it out and see what you think. Hey you guys, this is the part where we beg for money. Please put the right script up there, Sumner. This is not funny. Hey guys, please take time to subscribe and ring the bell below to notify you of new surgeries. Also, take a look around in my store for some great cheap and free stuff. And one last thing, the Doctor's Lounge is open and in full swing. Come on, join us, get some amazing samples, stems, or one-on-one mix, production, or music advice. This is a really cool and super affordable thing, so check it out and see if it's for you. All the links are below in the description of this video. Thanks a lot. Thanks as always for watching. Leave me some comment, love below, and a thumbs up. And feel free to hit me at drbobmusicsurgery@gmail.com. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you the next time the doctor's in.